All right, big tech, without a doubt, have become the arbiters of truth. And I'm going to tell you how they did it. They have done it. They got away with it. They used money to do it. It was almost kind of like a wave in a war. You know how the Germans took over Poland in a blitzkrieg? It kind of happened the same way when it came to the tech industry. Those who used to stand for freedom, stand for sharing information, stand for the individual, stand for the country, have caved. They've fallen in. They've become part, well, shall we say, of the kingdom of big tech. I want you to take a look at this story because I'm going to give you a little bit of a background that you may not know about, but you do need to know about. Mozilla suggests regulators issue laws that curb recommendations of conspiracy theory videos. Yes, that's right. I want to give you a little background about Mozilla first before I go into this because this is important, people. Mozilla is an open source project. In other words, it's not developed by, Microsoft or Google. It's developed independently where a lot of programmers will come together. It's a way for your name to get known as far as programming. It's a way to work on projects and expand your skills and learn from other people. And not always do you even get paid for it. Many of them volunteer their time. Open source. As a matter of fact, it's so open source that the Linux community, now, if anybody doesn't know, Linux community are about the most fiercely independent people that you're going to find. They're not about the groupthink. They're about sharing knowledge because knowledge needs to be shared. Linux and the Linux community, they chose Firefox as their go-to or their standard web browser. They could have went with Netscape, could have went with a bunch of other different ones, including Chrome, but they went with Mozilla Firefox. So I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to tell you how Google was able to do this. They kind of cover it, but they don't cover the whole thing because it's a little bit insidious as to how they're doing this. The Mozilla Foundation used to do one thing, and they did it well. The Mozilla Foundation used to do one thing, and do it well. They led the development of the free and open source Firefox browser, which, by the way, I highly recommend that you do not use anymore. Guys, take a look at the Brave browser. You'll like it. If you're doing Chrome right now, you can transfer everything over. Everything. The transition from Chrome to Brave is so easy. But I would highly recommend going to that. Mozilla also has taken it upon themselves to restrict search results. Part of what this is right here. So they decided that they're going to restrict conspiracy theory, hate speech, whatever, whoever they deem probably shouldn't be heard. They're restricting that within their search engine. But sadly, that browser, once was a huge chunk of the market and representing a revolutionary step up from Microsoft's Internet Explorer. So they used to have a battle at that particular period of time. Explorer was the number one web search, or the web browser, okay? And then Netscape came out and Mozilla came out. Mozilla pretty much kicked Microsoft's butt. But that goes without saying. Anybody that competes with Microsoft can beat them because they really put out shit. They're just really good at stopping any competition and making sure everybody has to do business with them. That being said, Microsoft's Internet Explorer is falling by the wayside as Google Chrome has taken over. Now, something I want to let you know, Mozilla, and part of the reason that they're doing this, and part of the reason they're going to lawmakers to have these laws passed is because the tech giants want them to do that. They want them to become part of the whole ministry of truth, which is really what the tech giants are right now. And if they don't play ball, two things are going to happen. One is they may lose their, shall we say, subsidy that they get for choosing to use Google as the search engine. That's the one that they default to, and that's the one that they promote. They get money from Google to make sure that search engine is within or part of their package. In other words, for instance, even if you switch in Mozilla, if you switch to a different search engine, every once in a while it's still going to come up and say, oh yeah, you need to switch back over to Google as your default search engine. Are you sure you don't want to do that? They have to promote Google. This is part of how Google's been able to, shall we say, corner the market on advertising. If it's your search engine that they're using, then you're going to wipe out any of the competition, and you're also going to be able to charge what you want. And Google just doesn't do this with Mozilla. It does it with other web browsers, okay, that are out there. A second thing that, and this is the insidious part, a second thing that Google does, Facebook, and all of the tech giants do. Remember, these are open source projects, and they do this with Mozilla also. They do it even with Linux and some of the other distros that are out there. Almost any major project that's being done open source, they supply them grants. Now, I want to remind you, nothing in this world's free. Even if you go out and harvest food, you're working to harvest the food. It's not free. You got to get off your butt. You got to go out. You got to pick it, clean it. You know, it's work. Nothing is for free. So they'll give huge grants for these projects. A lot of times, okay, to be fair, business-wise, they'll purchase out those projects. But to be also fair, a lot of them they just let go as open source and then they control it through the grants. By the way, you know that, man, we're really just cracking down on grants this year. We don't have the money that we used to. But so we're having to like pick people that are really supporting Google. Are you supporting Google? Yeah, we're really unhappy about your choice of doing this, this, and this. We need you to support us on this, this, and this. And they get their grants. So even though they're not part of Google, in a way, they actually are. And again, this is Facebook, Microsoft, all of these companies, all of these major tech giants do grants and donations to these open sources. Remember, man, you make a deal with the devil, expect to have to pay the price. Till my next video, guys.